Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 396. This is your guide to the geek side. And before we start the podcast, remember, you can always check out all our podcasts on our network feed. You can get the Star Wars, the Star Trek, the video games, and this podcast you're listening to now. Get all of them. It's a bundle deal. You'll be happier if you do.
It's a bundle deal for free so far.
And then you can go to YouTube, subscribe there, see all our faces in more places as you get to see our wonderful backgrounds and our wonderful faces. And you can see our expressions on our face, which are priceless because it's free. So with that, I am Todd Oxtra, one of your hosts, joined by Charlie Carden.
What? I don't know if I've worn this before, but I had a great story around this. Todd and I are MSU grads. I was doing an event as a cosplayer a couple of years ago. I saw a student walk past. I chatted her up. She said, "Oh, I bought it at the Union years ago, but it's not around anymore. I had a friend make me a custom, so I wear it with pride." Rebel Forces MSU. I love it. However,
they're not a wonderful shirt with all the cute villains in a skull. It's one of my favorites. It's that time of year.
I know MSU's having a pretty shitty football season though. Yeah, they lose again this week. Didn't they get like?
Oh yeah, they played against.
Bad.
They played against Ohio State. They're number 4. They're like the number 4 team in the country.
The Ohio State.
Exactly. They're essentially They're essentially an NFL team playing against people.
Dynasty.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
That's rough for the Spartans. But guess who's having it rougher is Superman on this comic book cover. This is Action Comics, which is the original Superman title from January of 1971. It's issue number 396. Superman is in a wheelchair with a blanket around him and a sign around his neck, "Help the needy." He's saying, "Stop hounding me. Have you no pity? I'm not a freak. Leave me alone." Is the future of the world's mightiest hero to become the super panhandler of Metropolis. Oxtra, how do you find these? My God.
I love them. And this reminds me of Trading Places with Eddie Murphy,
yes!
where he's pretending to be like ill. A veteran lost his feet, lost his legs. And then they he's revealed to be like, not a homeless man. It's completely normal. And it's just absolutely hilarious. So yes, I don't know where this one came from. And you have to think back in 1971, with over almost 400 episodes of issues of Superman, they're like, what are we going to do with Superman? Let's make him homeless. Really?
Yes. It's weird because you're at the point where, this seems like it would be really fit in like the 1950s. But by the time you got to the 70s, comics were getting a little more serious, right? Because you're starting to get, Days of Future Past. And that was in the 80s. You're starting to get more serious stuff with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And the storytelling
Green Arrow, Green Lantern with Speed taking morphine.
They were getting more fantastical. And then you got Superman pulling this shit off. I'm just like, ugh. So this one in the bin. But Todd, we are overdue for the random number generator, read some titles. So you and me and Katie need to put heads together and figure out doing that again, because for all we know, this one could come up and we might have to read this bad.
That's a good once a year project, I would say.
Right. There you go. You go. Well, what is always evergreen and never just once a year, that is the hot scoops that we get from our senior news correspondent, 122 years young. I'm talking about Madam Webb, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. Let's go find out what she's got for us this week.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. New York Comic Con is upon us. We're full of news. Sometimes we forget that comics actually are there. And Madam Webb, I know you were there hawking your own personal comic book. It was called The Immaculate Old Lady Adventures of Madam Webb. Now, I don't know if Marvel can sue you, because I don't know if they technically own you. So I don't know.
Could be.
Watch out. Employ Matt Murdock or Jessica Walters. We'll see how that goes. Maybe you got a case. Maybe you don't.
Oh my goodness, the legal quandary. All right, so this thing we got up next, this actually came from silent secret friends partner John, who doesn't want to do the show with us anymore, but we had a long run when he was on with us all the time in the beginning. But he sent us this earlier this week, and this is David Harbour as Santa Claus. You watching the trailer, which you can find it in the show notes. Skimming along, looks pretty. He's drinking in a bar. He's being kind of surly, and he's the real dude, right? So he's going around doing his thing. Obviously on Christmas Eve. Up next is this, rich, well-to-do family that is being held hostage at gunpoint. The dad is obviously some big muckety muck. I can't remember. I without having the verbiage in front of me, I can't remember what. But he's rich. Santa beams down. He beams in the chimney, which is brilliant. That's, I would think, the only way Santa could really work. Not gonna gum down a chimney every time, or like in the Santa Claus. And you find out that Santa is like he's basically Cobra put together with Rocky, put together with Commando, put together with the Terminator, because this is like a Red Band trailer. He's wrecking shop. He's tearing shit up in a very dark comedy take of Christmas. And what is this called?
Violent Night.
Violent Night. I am so fucking in on this. This is awesome. This is awesome. Good deal.
It's playing with all the tropes. There's been other takes on like Superman or Santa Claus, like getting, either going bad or like there's a Great American Dad, like ongoing battle between that family and Santa Claus. Their dad was Krampus, really good. There's obviously was a comic book called Lobo Paramilitary Special, which was pretty funny back in the day when Lobo took out Santa Claus. But this one looks to be really cool. And essentially he's using his naughty list to check out the bad guys. He's helping the little girl. The family has $300 million that they want to steal. The bad guys, John Leguizamo is one of those bad guys. This is from the producers who made Nobody, which is a great film. Charlie, I really highly recommend you watch that. Bob Odenkirk, that's where he basically was a secret CIA agent in hiding. Great show. John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Bullet Train, and Hobbs and Shaw. So this should really be a really well done action film with a good sense of humor. It looks like it's going to be totally R-rated. I don't know if I see a rating for this. It's probably unrated at this point. But Beverly D'Angelo is in this, Charlie. Did you know that?
I missed that. What role is she in the trailer? I didn't.
It does not say, and I didn't even notice. So, but I saw she's in the cast. So this should be a lot of fun, and it's directed by Tommy Ricola, who did Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, and Dead Snow franchise. Which those are like tongue-in-cheek, like horror. So this works really well for that. So I'm excited for this on December 2nd, coming to theaters from Universal Studios.
I love it. All right. And with that, we slide in talking about New York Comic Con. Actually, Todd, friend of the show, Kurt Krug is out, or Krug, excuse me, is, he's freelance reporter. He was a Michigan State grad, just like us. He's out there reporting on this right now.
Cool.
He even got to chat with Kate Mulgrew about some of the Star Trek stuff that was going on at the show. But yeah, we had a lot going on, man. So yeah, what's from the tops?
Yeah, so the first one is a story that it's out there for, like, I think shock value versus is this actually going to be a good show, which is there's an animated movie coming out called Velma, which is essentially a standalone origin story for Velma. It's animated on HBO Max, and it's all about Velma. The cast includes Glenn Howerton as I believe Freddy. Then you've got Constance
Sam
Wu
Richardson
as Velma, and Sam Richardson as Shaggy, which he's going by the name, like he's official name, not Shaggy, which I believe is Norville. Yes. So this is going to be Minnie Kaling is playing Velma. This is going to be a little bit more over the top.
Well,
and it's butts and blood is what they're saying.
And I did read that Scooby is not present because of the adult take on it. And mired in baseless controversy, this film does come out very openly that Velma is a lesbian, which heads exploding, I guess. I couldn't care less. Who cares? And again, wasn't it a foregone conclusion for a lot of us anyway that something was a little hinky with that scenario? But again, if it's a fun story and this is for an adults, show me on the doll where the cartoon hurt you. That's all I can say.
And we've had so many takes on Scooby-Doo. It's not like, oh, this will ruin the franchise. I mean, we had the live action series. We've had various Scooby-Doo cartoons with quality of varying levels. Right. I mean, I was even looking at the HBO Max app, Charlie. There's been a series of Scooby-Doo episodes where Scooby-Doo keeps running into people like famous people, like the old days, like the Globetrotters. But now it's like he's running into people like, wait, he ran into a chef from Food Network? Is it really getting to that point where just like,
that was what one of the comments I read is someone's like, wait, there's Scooby-Doo canon now? There's no connectivity. There's no, it's like saying there's Simpsons canon, because Scooby-Doo has been around since 1969. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about over 50 years. There's continuity in Scooby-Doo, like there's continuity in DC Comics going back to the 1930s. I just don't think so. You know what? This is a different version for a different audience, and I think it'll be fun. So I'm in.
Why not? What's going to hurt? This could be the worst thing in the world, and guess what? We'll move on, and we'll get the next Scooby thing we like. So yeah. It is what it is. We still make Scooby snacks from General Mills. You know what? I'm sure we're not going to pull the product.
Todd, I 100%. That is my snack. And as a matter of fact, April Randa Meyer.
Sorry, I lied, Charlie. We make fruit snacks. We don't make the actual graham snacks. Sorry.
Great. So I'm sorry that those are from Kellogg's. Apologize.
That's okay.
Because I was bitching to you about that because I said, the supply chain is letting me down. You guys need to make a better product.
Not my supply chain. Take that, Kellogg's.
Take that, Kellogg's. I know, and they're right here in Michigan too. Boo.
Exactly. Can't get it right. Oh well, but that's going to be coming out soon. We'll get a release. It's on HBO Max. So you know what? If you're scared about your kids seeing Velma being gay, don't let them watch. But something you could check out if you really want to. This is kind of cool. I saw this was released. DC Universe Infinite is going to have a new tier that's announced called Ultra. And this is kind of a big deal because it is going to cost more than the standard, but you're going to get comics a month after release. Nobody's doing that. That's big. Right. That's a big deal.
Big
and
time.
Then
and Marvel will 100% follow suit in some fashion because
I'll be curious if they do that too, because I know that's been a big challenge. They're down to 3 months, and that's a big deal. So we'll see how that goes.
DC was at 12 months, where Marvel was at 6 months. So they're dialing it down. Eventually. Yep. And this is not such a great thing for our friends who own comic shops. But again, people who buy comic books and then people who read digital, I think, I won't say never the twain shall meet, but I think it's still a very different crowd because I'll still be in a comic shop and there's some dude buying, I came in for my poll and he's got like 30 books there because he comes in once a month. There's still those people out there. There probably always will be as long as there's print comics. But then there's people like you and me, Todd. I gave up comic collecting twice. Like had a collection, sold it, and now I just read. And Marvel Unlimited is perfect for me because I do it so infrequent. I'm like, I should stop and I'm going to read like 1 hour before bed. I never do, so I read when I'm donating plasma. That's it, and it's bad. But you know what? Life is busy, so it happens. Everybody's habits are going to be different, which is why something like this could stand a chance of being a big success for them. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and essentially they're going to even open it to more comics that haven't been on the app, like these more of the darker stuff, some Vertigo things, and some of the Black Label. And also, just like Marvel does with their one edition where you get like the higher tier where you get a collectible and things like that, they're going to be throwing in a collectible comic book with this tier as well, like a physical edition. So kind of cool. I like this. This makes me more excited to get to a service where it's only a month delayed, because like events and things like that, where you don't want to miss out and have them more frequently versus waiting 6 months for like, okay, what happened? You already know because it's been spoiled. This could be good. So, and it's only like, for me, it's like $25 more a year, which, $2 $2 a month. That's like a pittance. I throw $2 out the window every month. So I better not do that and put it into the service.
Every other day. No, that's good stuff. Hey, moving on. More New York Comic Con news. We're still on that tip. Star Trek comics. Now, I've been keeping up. It's really, at this point, about the only non-Marvel thing that I pick up, or IDW's Star Trek line. They recently published their 400th issue of combined chronology since they've had the line since 2007. And so now they announced that they're launching a series starring Benjamin Sisko that's going to come out, or it's already out. And then now we're talking about one that's going to come out in February of 2023, starring Worf and Ensign Ro, Spock, and that's either Data or Lore. I feel like it's Lore. Lore, exactly, which we'll talk about the character of Lore, who is Data's evil brother. We'll talk about it again in a minute. But these are fun. I like IDW's comics. They've done a great job with the license, as much as I would love to have it just be over at Marvel so I don't have to go to two places to read my comics. I think they do a really nice job. They produce some good stuff. And in recent years, I just finished reading the Mirror War saga, which was by the Tipton brothers, who we had them on Code 47 long time, really right before that series started. They do nice work. This even sounds like it's going to be pulling together other characters, like I said, Spock, Lore, B'Elanna Torres. Or is that B'Elanna Torres? I thought that was Ensign Ro. No, that must be B'Elanna Torres.
Ensign Ro.
Okay.
They do mention Worf, Spock, Ro, Lore, and more.
Oh, right. Well, they mentioned B'Elanna later down. B'Elanna, of course, being the engineer from Voyager. So that's great. That's the one thing I would say that I feel bad for newer people exposed to Trek, because what do you get? You get TNG and TOS, mostly TOS, and I'm not the biggest fan of TOS, but Voyager and DS9, that's what was on when we were in high school and in college. So I love to see that creeping back out. We just had an episode of Lower Decks that they returned to DS9, and Kira and Quark were guest stars. It's great. I love DS9, and we're getting Worf back in season 3 of Picard, which we'll talk about in a minute here. So I love this Star Trek synergy. There was a lot of Star Trek synergy at New York Comic Con, which we'll continue to talk about. So this is cool. I'm excited.
Very cool. Yeah. It's great to take these characters where there's stories, there's timelines where there's a gap of where you don't know what they've been up to. So it's kind of cool to see them have adventures, because they probably did. Right.
Adventures to be had. All right. What else we got?
Yeah, so, speaking of comics, Marvel has released kind of their roadmap of things coming up for the rest of 2022 into 2023. Some of those, and we've got a screenshot here. It's going to Avengers Assemble, November 2022, which Jason Aaron is going to be on that title with Brian Hitch, good artist. And it's going to be bringing together... tie together his work on Avengers Forever, and Avengers of the Year A Million in a multiverse spanning saga. So there you go. So if you like Avengers from different timelines, you will see that in an event. Jason Aaron does really cool stuff. I prefer him to Hickman. Hickman's stuff gets really convoluted, and after a while, I'm like, I just want a good, fun story that I don't have to know everything and read all of these weird dialogue boxes and go, what the hell's going on? Then we get Dark Web. The two spurned clones of the Marvel Universe, Madeline Pryor and Ben Reilly, team up as a Goblin Queen and Chasm to unleash their revenge in the Spider-Man and X-Men crossover that pays off decades of comic book storytelling. The dramatic events will fan the flames of the classic Inferno crossover impact Spider-Man, X-Men, Venom, Miss Marvel, and a series of tie-in issues and limited series, Charlie.
Then we have, like it. Our own, the Summer of the Symbiotes. My goodness.
Yes. And then we have the Sins of Sinister, which Mr. Sinister's devious machinations yield the darkest Marvel Comics future to date in this universe-melting X-Men event. Immortal X-Men, X-Men Red, and Legion of X will be transformed into moral X-Men, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, and Nightcrawlers as the overarching saga that propels further and further into an unforgiving universe where all things are sinister. That's pretty cool. Mr. Sinister is an awesome villain. He's got so many layers. He's always the one he's like the Loki of the X-Men. You never know what he's going to be doing. He's always pulling the threads, and he's got something in his back pocket. He's a very cool character. We got Captain America Cold War. Currently sharing the mantle of Captain America, Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson's current adventures collide in the crossover between Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, and Captain America, Symbol of Truth, a pivotal chapter in the 80-year history of Captain America. This espionage-fueled action thriller will be a culmination of various plot threads in this acclaimed new era, including the rise of the Outer Circle, Nomad's return, the brewing conflict with Wakanda and White Wolf, and Bucky's new persona and mission.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, you can just feel the layers of that plot.
I know,
like a pastry. Just the layers, like puff pastry.
Goodness.
Can you The summer of symbiotes, Charlie. Sun's out, tongue's out. Spinning out of titles like Venom, Carnage, and Red Goblin comes a slew of new symbiotic stories. Get ready for the return of old faces, the debut of new symbiote heroes, an exciting shift for iconic symbiote stars. It's the season of symbiote insanity. Wow.
And the thing about symbiotes is that they always have old and new faces all kind of rolled into one. So that's wild. Todd, the fall of X. They couldn't have kept this any more brief. The X-Men hoped Kratok would last forever. Time to find out if they were right.
I hope alert, they are right. I hope that they're not right, and I hope it ends, because that whole storyline is so convoluted and it's added so much complexity. The fact that no X-Men can truly die because there's a bank of them that can just be regenerated takes out the stakes. It was interesting and cool, but I think they need to go back to a status quo that means we've learned something from it, but that is just over, because
it's like no setting like right now, or at least they were a few years ago when I was the Avengers live in the body of a hollowed out Sentinel in the Antarctic. That's not going to go on forever. Eventually they're going to go back to Hydro Base. They're going to go back to the Avengers Mansion or Avengers Tower or something. Things are going to shift around. Everything is cyclical in comics. Nothing lasts forever. The Fantastic Four, they have the Baxter Building. The Baxter Building gets blown up. They have the Four Freedoms Plaza. That gets blown up. Then they live in some weird house on Yancey Street, and that gets blown up. Shit's always going to get blown up. Deal with it.
You want some constants that feel like this is at the heart of this thing, and it lives, and they can have adventures, and they have things that take them away, create some more layers. But you always want to feel like you could read a Fantastic Four comic book, an X-Men comic book, and go like, okay, I get it. Versus like, what the hell is this? Why are they speaking in Hamlet? Why are they in Hamlet and, shooting each other with, super soakers?
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure that's happened.
Super soakers? I don't know. Probably.
Sure.
I don't know. This is a bad run of that. All right, moving on. Trailer trash. That's right. We got 5 trailers, probably more than 5 trailers, but these are the ones that we glommed onto. I love it, Todd. Johnny Karate crosses with Mario in this wonderful trailer.
Yes.
This was fun. And again, I will admit, I watched it just now because I'm a moving target. And if it's not Star Trek, it usually gets the backseat, which is why I watched the other 3 right away. But this looks great. So yeah, Mario, you've got the little blue people, and then you've got the yellow people, and they're going to war with each other. I mean, I know if I'm dumbing this down.
You mean the penguins, Charlie? The penguins?
Were they just penguins? Yeah, they
were
kind of
penguins.
They look like penguins, like Rudolph's penguins. Didn't think they look like
penguins versus the Koopas.
Yeah, it didn't look like Rankin and Bass penguins from like Rudolph.
Kinda, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that was fun because the penguins come out and they're throwing snowballs, and there's this big dramatic pause, and then the King Koopa just goes, rah! He's got Magneto, he's got Dark Phoenix powers, and he flings them all, and they're like, oh my god, he's blowing up all their shit, and they're like, who's gonna save us? And then it flashes to Mario getting shot out of something and landing on a mushroom and going, and that's the end of it.
I love it. I love this. I was going to ask what your thoughts were. It sounds like you're pleasantly surprised. You weren't like,
I'm in.
This is an affront to humanity.
Well, that was, I don't know if you watched SNL last night, but the cold
I did not yet. I watched some of it. Yeah.
The cold open. Well, you saw the cold open.
Yes, I did
right?
see that part. Yeah.
What's it going to take to snap? And they had this woman on here, and they were running through like, does this thing make it? Basically saying things to try to make her flip out. And the one that made her crack was the Mario trailer and Chris Pratt speaking in his normal voice. And he's like, what the hell is he doing? He's supposed to be Italian. It's his own thing. And that's what made her snap. So that just cracks me up. Yeah. Oh, and then they're making fun of Kanye West, who's my least favorite celebrity. But I digress.
Yes. But, when you're not talking about Kanye, I mean, this movie, ultimately, this is by the folks who did Despicable Me, Minions, Illumination. I would say the animation looks like at a higher level in those movies just because there's more stuff to pull from. And this is going to be Bowser, voiced by Jack Black. You've got a lot of things that are very, very touchstone Mario in this movie from the style. This looks very fun. Yes, Chris Pratt got essentially 2 lines, and he is definitely not pulling himself as an actor to do more than maybe giving himself a little bit of an Italian accent. You can't really tell, but it was 2 lines. So we'll see how that goes. But what's really got me excited, Charlie, I don't know if Charlie Day is playing Luigi. So we did a little scene with him with the with like the scary stuff. So he should be awesome. Keegan Michael Key is also the voice of Toad, who you saw, came out. So, and you can barely tell it's him. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
There's other voice actors in this. I think this will be a hoot. Danny DeVito's in this as well. So I'm hoping there's more It's Always Funny actors in this. And I'm very happy with it. I know people are offended. It should be like the voice actor who does Mario, but does anybody really want 2 hours of hee hee, hoo hoo, it's a me, Mario. I talk like this. Ah.
You know what, Todd? You say that, but just button yourself up for the rage. It's out there. But you know what? It'll go. It'll be a success. People will have fun with it because, Chris Pratt's a big star and it's going to be fun and stuff. And then all of those incels can go back to their basement. Yeah, I said
it. Yes. And you know what? We got ugly Sonic. We got better looking Sonic. So maybe we'll get Chris Pratt will redo his lines and he'll really put it on thick. And then we'll get an offensive Italian accent and people will love that.
Oh, you bet. You know what? There's something offensive to be loved in anyway. All right, let's blast through these last three kind of in one fell swoop. So the 3 Star Trek programs that we have that are coming back, we have Lower Decks right now. That's wrapping up later this month. We have Star Trek Prodigy coming back for the back half of its freshman season. So our characters have now escaped from the villains. They're kind of out on their own. They've got the ship. Well, guess who doesn't want them to have a ship? That would be the actual Catherine Janeway, who shows up to basically take the ship away from them because they kind of swipe
children.
Yes, the children. So she's chasing them and shooting torpedoes at them. So that's not super. That's
a good
cool,
idea.
Catherine.
Kill the children. Yeah, kill the children.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, they're aliens, so who cares? But anyway, no, this looks to get interesting. You're also getting a return, and I watched the trailer a couple times and didn't see it. They're bringing back Ronnie Cox's character of Edward Jellicoe, which was from TNG.
Is Ronnie Cox still alive?
No, well, you know what? He might not be.
I'm going to look it up, Charlie. Keep talking.
He was in an episode of Dexter. The original run, but that was
he's 84 years old, so he's still alive. I guess you don't have him on screen, but he can talk still, hopefully.
Presumably. So anyway, yeah, even though they teased an image of it, I watched the trailer twice and I didn't see him, so shame on me. If I'm wrong, add me at the C3 and Twitter and let me know. Give me a drop and let me know. That looked cool. Picard, we finally got a season 3 full trailer. We got the gang all back together. Our villain for the season is none other than Honey Bunny herself, from Pulp Fiction, Amanda Plummer. Which
also,
is awesome.
The weird sister from Pet Sematary.
And So I Married an Axe Murderer. That's what you're thinking of, not Pet Sematary.
Oh, I thought maybe. She's been something else too, where she was creepy again. So she's been creepy in a lot of things.
It is kind of her. She was. She had a bit part as a fortune teller in season 3 of Battlestar Galactica when they were all on New Caprica. She's fortune teller, so she always does something creepy. That looks awesome. She's supposed to be a con level villain. So you see her flying around,
she's got a scar, Charlie. Of course, that makes her evil.
Yes, exactly. Well, everybody knows only the scars. Discovery season 5. I like Discovery. It's not my favorite. This kind of feels like, again, maybe threat of the week. They're coming back and doing a bunch of stuff. You've got Black Space Jesus again, which is Michael Burnham doing her thing. Who knows how that's going to turn out? I would say of the 3, Picard, it's at the highest level because this is supposed to be our big TNG send off. Prodigy is fun. They're also bringing back Janeway. I'm on a Voyager kick right now. We're also talking about Voyager over on Code 47.
I'm sorry.
Todd, maybe we'll bring you in as a ringer so you can just come on every episode. Hated it. So now we move on to episode 16 of season 2. Hated it.
Anomaly.
Neelix
is still on? Holy
Anomaly.
God. Really?
Really?
Who are they going to bring back from another series because we're losing relevance? Oh, yeah. We don't have any good villains. Oh, let's adopt them. Yes. Sorry.
But anyway, Picard season 3 only has it can only go up from how bad season 2 was.
I hope so, because I love the fact that the old cast is back. This looks really cool. Yeah. And I mean, it deserves better, but we don't know. They've got bad pacing when it's only one season and you spend
10 episodes.
When you spend 8 episodes of those just like filling spaces, and it's like, oh, we have to end this in 2 episodes. We're going to come up with something that will change like our, continuity. And it's like, what?
And that's really what they did. They got to the end of Picard season 2 and Q has been gone for 5 of these episodes. Here he is again. And also this Borg thing is going on. So anyway, if you want to listen to more ramblings about Star Trek, we have a whole show for that. It's run by me. It's called Code 47. Comes out every other Monday. You'll be hearing from it just a couple of days after you listen to this episode. But anyway,
you didn't ask me how I like Discovery 5 trailer, Charlie, because I really like that show. I think it has its foibles, but if Discovery didn't work, we would not be talking about anything else Trek. I think it's a visually beautiful show. I mean, the fact that this isn't a movie quality, it looks wonderful. They always bring in typically interesting storylines, whether they work or not. I'm hoping this one does, and they can really focus on not focusing on some like odd storylines that are like taking up too much air in the room, like Gray and what's the other person's name?
That's how memorable they are.
That's problem, because they took up so much space. I'm like, okay, this is great and all, but it is really taking us away from really cooler storylines and individual
Very
episodes.
True. And a quick trivia sidebar, Discovery Season 5 is the first Star Trek show to have a 5th season since Voyager did in 1998.
Oh, Enterprise only had 4?
Yeah, they got canceled at the end of their 4th season. Yep. In 2005. You got it. So, yes, the second golden age of Star Trek is upon us. So anyway, New York Comic Con is over. Got a lot of great news. If we missed something, please add us at Secret Friends Unite over on Twitter. Let us know how silly we are. But with that, Todd, time to draw a close. Time to get at that app out. We got to get that gypsy cab to take us down to Scugville. Nasty Town, that's right. The Geek Easy awaits, where we talk about what we're digging. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. And this week, man, there is just so much stuff to talk about in the world of nerd. So we're going to focus on a few. And Charlie, you actually saw a movie, but you're not going to be talking about it. So that's okay. Or no, we're going to talk about that in future weeks. So don't worry about that.
What movie? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in future weeks.
Okay, very good. You're right, I did, but it totally blanked my mind. But anyway, I will punch through. You have one shared thing, and I have one shared thing. She-Hulk is now up to its penultimate episode. This has been my favorite Marvel show because it's a total. Because
it's the newest. And in your mind.
Yeah, you're right. So the next one will be my new favorite.
I was going to say, I think that's how people go with these. It's my newest favorite because it's the newest because I'm focused on that. And
I don't remember any of the other ones. I mean,
exactly.
I love WandaVision. I love the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it's like I forget that Hawkeye was a show, because I haven't watched it again. But anyway, She-Hulk it's been a blast for me because it's fun. And it's self-effacing and it's a little silly and she breaks the fourth wall. She's the Lady Deadpool. But this was an episode where they brought back Charlie Cox as Daredevil, not just as Matt Murdock, which we saw him in Spider-Man No Way Home, but actually as Daredevil in an interaction, not only working a case together and bringing back Leapfrog, who was a character from The Amazing Spider-Man.
Who was a pseudo good guy in the comics, right?
No, he was a nerdy kid who built his own suit.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't really fit the bill. But it's a Spider-Man comic from the 80s. But in this, he was a rich kid who had the suit builder who built Jennifer Walters' different suits, make one for him that it malfunctioned. He tries to sue. Turns out that, he screwed that up. But anyway, Matt Murdock ends up being his lawyer. But then he ends up, they kidnap the suit keeper. And so Daredevil and She-Hulk have to get together to rescue him. But then they end up, I'm not going to say falling in love, but just getting down. She's like, wow, he's really kind of doing it for me. She really, she gets the hots for him and they hook up and it's a blast. Then he does.
Oh my God. And the internet died that Marvel characters can get busy.
I know it was. I was not witness to that, but yeah, the walk of shame / the walk of power. The way, yeah, because in the end of the next day, he's walking away with his helmet on, but he doesn't have his boots on for some reason. Anyway, it was a blast from this. But yeah, we're out of this series. It's done. By the time
one
you
more
listen to
episode.
This.
Yeah. This once again, what the hell, Marvel? What is the end game? And you got one episode to do it in 30 minutes. It's like, come on, guys, figure something out in regards to wrapping up your plot. We have like the Hulk King. That's like, are they just trying to embarrass her? They're just a bunch of man haters. There's potentially a plot to steal her blood. It just seems like, unless it's like an hour episode, I'm like, Marvel, please fix your shit and figure out your stories and wrap them up in a way that makes sense. Doesn't feel like you've rushed and it's like, oh, okay, here's 35 new characters. Here's the plot line. We're done. They've struggled with that. But I mean, I love their take on Daredevil. The fact that he doesn't look like he's out of his league, like he's going to have a hard time with a couple of, street toughs.
Yeah.
They
beaten and stabbed.
His costume is goofy and they called it out. So I'm like guessing that's not going to last. But it's fun, and I like this take, and I'm glad it's not all grim and gritty, and he's sad, and so I'm hoping this carries over with his series, which is coming 2024 or something like that, which is the Rebirth or whatever they're calling Rebirth. So yeah, I hope it's good. I mean, I like him. I like that he gets to have a good time and smiles a little bit.
Yes, have some of the smiling. I like it. Well, cool. I watched the classic today. My friend Jonathan Snedeker reached out to me because I had talked to him in months past, anticipating that in time here on this network, we'd like to move on and offer our listeners some bonus content. A segment that I'm interested in doing has to do with revisiting classic television shows season by season. And so I was having this conversation with my buddy, Jonathan Snedeker. We worked together years ago. He's part of our Star Trek club. And I said, hey, pick something that we can watch together and we'll break it down. He says, I love the old Buck Rogers. It's on Tubi or Fubu or one of those freebie ones. So I'm like,
on my TV and you can watch them. Yeah.
But he said, I've already watched it. I said, all right, well, I'll tune in. And so today I watched the first two-parters. So I watched 4 episodes, and this show came out in 1979. It was the redheaded stepchild of Battlestar Galactica, which got canceled the year before. Because it was, I don't understand the logic behind it. Battlestar Galactica was too expensive and didn't have enough of an audience. So it got canceled. But then Glenn A. Larson, who was the guy who created it, turned around, used a lot of the sets, used a lot of the props, used a lot of the shots, and made another show.
And ship designs, yeah.
And made another show that managed to drag on for like a season and a half and then get canceled. And then how was this guy never done in Hollywood? But point being, I love Battlestar, and then I love Buck Rogers watching. So yeah, he's an astronaut in the year 1987. Ranger 3 launches into space, and then there's a nav, whatever it is, and he gets frozen, and he's frozen for 500 years. And then something, I don't even remember from watching the episode, made him come out of his cryo sleep. And then there's Earth, and Earth that went through 80 million different global, nuclear wars or whatever. And so now they all live in one giant city, and he has to integrate back into life. And this big galactic cosmos of the Draconians and Tiger Man. And I think it's later on it's Hawkeye or whatever, or the Princess, or I don't know. Todd, you're the one who loved the show.
Yes, it was. I mean, and I think the reason why they wanted to go something lighter, a little bit more humorous, a little cheesier, which is Battlestar Galactica wasn't. So I think that's why they wanted to go with lighter fare. People could pick it up, a little more lesser, the deep tone. And it was that essentially, episode of the week. Buck was kind of he was a stranger in a strange land, kind of new things, but obviously he's adapting it. And I really liked the show. It was cheesy, but I felt like it has a whimsy to it that was very fun. And it did something very odd, which I don't know, to your point, Charlie, after a season of being set on Earth and going on missions, things like that, they said, you know what, we're going to completely change it up. We're going to change half the cast. We're going to send them to outer space on a ship with a different a colonel.
Well, hold on,
like admiral.
You're spoiling it for me.
Am I spoiling it, Charlie? Have you not watched this in years?
I haven't watched it in 40 years, so no, I have not.
So you don't remember the season 2 where it like goes off the rail? Okay, because you mentioned Hawk, because Hawk is in season 2.
That's what I remember. That Hawk is, but in season 1, and I thought it would be a recurring thing. There's the Princess, and there's her adjutant, and then there's Tiger Man, who is her heavy, her bodyguard, who he defeats by zapping it with his zap gun.
That's really a season 1 thing. So season 2, though, they flipped the script. It's completely different. It's like, okay, this is bad, not good, but there was some fun. Once you get to the Space Vampire episode, Charlie, is a classic. Stay for the Space Vampire episode.
Oh my God. I will have to do just that. I'll have to do just that. I like it. But yeah, that should be fun. So yeah, then, so that'll be fun. So yeah, Snedeker and I will hopefully break that down.
Light fare when you see Buck doing disco dancing. That's a classic part 2.
I mean, and you know what? And they came strong out the box with that deal. That was right in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So good stuff. So anyway, all right, what do you got?
Yeah, a new show dropped on Sci-Fi. Charlie, don't worry, it's on Peacock. So I know you always panic. Yes,
Peacock.
So Reginald the Vampire is based on a series of books called Fat Vampire, and it essentially deals with the first episode's it's a very good first episode in regards of like it gets you set up, gets you into the concept of essentially it's Ned from the most recent Spider-Man movies. He is lead character Reginald, and this is all about him being a very unhappy dude. He realizes he's fat and he's unhappy in life, and he works in a almost like a slushy shop, which is a weird thing, but he does that. And long story short, he gets turned into a vampire, and he's learning how to be a vampire. And the first episode is really like his immersion into it, and it's very cute because I mean, it's not horrific or anything, but you could tell where they're going to go with this show. It's going to be he's the stranger learning his ropes. He's got someone helping him through the process, and we're going to probably have like 2 timelines of stories going on too about his changer. What is it? Scion? Is that the person that changes a vampire?
I know the familiar is their human.
No, the Scion is the person that changes you. Like, you know, that's your, like, you're almost like master vampire. The Scion.
You got me there.
Yeah. So I believe
basically the guy with the glasses in The Lost Boys.
Yeah,
the head
essentially.
vampire.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have him and Reginald, and there's a love story element, which is very cute. And there's vampire politics and stuff. So I think this is going to be pretty good. And they dropped like F-bombs all the time. So I don't even know how this drops on Sci-Fi. I guess that's okay now. But I'm like, oh, they're dropping F-bombs all over the place. So
they do that on the Walking Dead. We were watching this week's latest episode.
Doesn't feel like that was always the way, though. It seems like that's a new thing, right?
Yeah, I think that what we consider basic cable has just been kind of shuffled around.
They don't care.
It's a different story. They don't have to care.
It didn't feel like it really felt the show, because the show felt like it was very, charming and kind of
right.
So I don't know. It's weird. I hope this is good. It could be just a good first episode, but I really liked it. Very charming. The lead character is great because he's upbeat regardless of the crappiness of his life. So I like it. It's fun. So check out Reginald the Vampire. Then we get to something we both watch, which is Werewolf Finite. Watched it last night on the couch, lights turned off. This is Marvel's essentially first special. This feels like the old special event on TV.
Special presentation.
Yeah, so about an hour long, black and white. Michael Giacchino was the director of this.
Yep.
Essentially, we don't know if we're going to get more of this, but it was it's a callback to like the Universal monster movies, where it was embracing the black and white, really was going hammy all in the fact that a family was like a group of monster killers was brought together to essentially get the Bloodstone, because Ulysses Bloodstone died and they are looking to someone to take on the mantle of the Bloodstone. We get an interesting group of monster hunters who showed up, which I couldn't place if any of them were people I'm supposed to know, but we did get Elsa Bloodstone, his daughter, who is a ne'er-do-well, had been apart. We get her stepmother, which don't know who her name is, but she was pretty great in regards to how much of a shrill person she was. And then we got some other villains that are monster hunters, which once again, I don't know who they were. The one guy though, Charlie, the Irish guy, he was the Mohawk guy from
it was
Star
Kirk
Trek.
Thatcher. Yeah, the punk on the bus who gives Kirk and Spock the finger. Kirk Thatcher, who spent he actually reprised that role in Picard season 2 because they were in they were in California in the 2020s. But he spent most of his career working at Henson's Creature Shop. He's a puppeteer.
Cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's his regular career. Yeah.
So this motley crew of monster hunters were very interesting. One looked like a Blade stand-in, which was kind of interesting. One looked like Marilyn Manson. One looked like a killer from The Hand.
Right.
Yeah. So I liked what they were doing. And then we obviously get introduced to Jack, whose real name is Jack Russell. He's standing in as a monster hunter. We find out that I won't give too much away, but one of the monster that they're kill is a kind of a I don't even know how you said him, A, B, C, D tiered character for Marvel, but I loved what they did with him.
Oh, big time. I adored the take. Seeing Man-Thing the way that we did, that's the most pure.
You gave it away, Charlie.
Bit. You know what? Come on. People have seen it. That was the most pure adaptation I feel like I've seen of anything they've done, particularly in CGI. They didn't mess with it at all.
It wasn't CGI actually. Most of this was not CGI. That was actually practical effects. It was, except for a few things they did. Yes, they did suits. Charlie, they did suits. His costume, like Jack's costume. It was full makeup, not there. So
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, they did practical effects for like a large extent.
I felt very much so that Man-Thing is like 12 feet tall. It's like the Hulk. It's like you're going to do practical effects for the Hulk. You get Lou Ferrigno. But no, I really liked that Jack the werewolf was very much, like Benicio del Toro in the Wolfman movie that we had several years back. Really just nailed that look of it. I absolutely dug on it. It was totally awesome. I like the fact that we can do a one shot. Maybe this is a one-off. Maybe it's something that's going to give us, characters that are going to show up somewhere else. Next one could be a Ghost Rider, and then they show up, and then we've got the Sons of Midnight, or we've got the Marvel Horror Universe, or whatever it is. But yeah, this really scratched the itch. Came out obviously at the exact right time of year, so it was 7 thumbs up for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I hope we get more of this, not just from the horror side, but from more of Marvel to introduce characters. I think it's highly effective, does just enough. It's an hour long. You get to have a fun adventure, and then you step away, and they're introduced. You don't have to have a 6-episode like Moon Knight. I think this would have been perfect for Moon Knight, quite honestly, versus 6 episodes, because Moon Knight was so drawn out, and it was like, was that all needed? Probably not. It just, people like walked away from Moon Knight like, I got too much of what I didn't want. I didn't need. So yeah, this is a cool approach.
Thank you for giving me everything I just didn't care about. So yeah, no, it was good time. So I look forward to seeing kind of how this format moves forward.
Yeah, I was surprised how horrific it was. I mean, we had axes in heads, we had darts going up, lots of blood hitting the screen, which I thought was a cool effect. So I'm I'm glad that they're not scared to take some chances and say more stuff can be for adults, and if your kids can watch it when they get older.
Right, exactly. But yeah, be just like the mom who took her 6-year-old to see Deadpool back in 2016. Use your friggin' head.
Or the mom that's complaining about Hocus Pocus is going to make their kids Satanists. So there you go. Everybody has a take on something.
Everybody has a wrinkle of how stupid they are. So anyway, well, Todd, that takes us out of the geekies. It's time to get out of here. I've got my phone up. I'm opening that Air Qantas app. That's right. It's time to book our flight down to the land down under. We're going to Australia. We're going to the Thunderdome. The mutants await for our input on Spooktember week 2. So let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're in Shocktober week 2 and talking about The Witch. The Witch. In 1630, New England, panic and despair envelops a farmer, his wife, and their children when youngest son Samuel suddenly vanishes. The family blames Thomasin, the oldest daughter, who is watching the boy at the time of his disappearance. With suspicion and paranoia mounting, twin siblings Mercy and Jonas suspect Thomasin of witchcraft, testing the clan's faith, loyalty, and love to one another. This came out October 18th, 2015. I believe this was a A24 film or a Blumhouse, one of those two. Director Robert Eggers, who directed the Viking movie, The Norseman. He's done some other weird things too. He was also doing the screenplay on this. Box office of $40 million on a budget of $4 million. So highly successful niche movie, for that change of budget. Yeah. And really, Anya Taylor-Joy, I believe this was one of her first movies.
I would think so.
The cast was Anya Taylor-Joy, playing Thomasin, Ralph Ineson, the dad, Kate Dickey, the mother, Harvey Scrimshaw, Caleb, the older brother, Ellie Granger, Mercy, Lucas Dawson, Jonas, and Julian Richings, the governor, and a bunch of people played witches. And and Black Phillip.
I don't want to spoil it. Total butt double for Anya Taylor-Joy at the end. did not match up because we knew we first saw her
How
butt.
old was she? I mean,
I
don't think we want to see a butt of a young girl, Charlie. That's
maybe 16 or 17.
So she is 26. So
okay.
So she would have been 20 years old. 18.
Well,
it's 22. This came out in 2015. So 17. 17.
Not yet legal butt. Well, it was, and it was a really bad body double because from the back it didn't have her shape, but it was from a distance. Let's put the cart before the horse. Not to put the cart before the horse.
Let's not get, because this movie's creepy enough. Let's not talk about younger age girls. So
younger butts. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So this movie, we leaned to watch this because I'd never seen it. I heard many things. I've seen some clips of this. Didn't know much about it. Charlie, one of the things I laughed about the fact is you are not good with like accents sometimes. So you're like, Oxtra, I couldn't tell what the hell they were saying. I'm like, I don't have that much problem. They're speaking a little bit old English, but I mean, it's accents that are largely a mix of English and American.
I think that here's the thing. Tell me I don't not good with accents. Love you just making shit up. April and I watch Outlander and we love it, but we never do it without the captions on because they speak very thick Scottish brogue. This was a very thick, like you said, older English because it's set in the 1630s in New England. So it's all the off the boaters, including the kids speaking in a very stilted cadence, thick accent, using a lot of anachronistic language. Yes.
A lot of these and those, but most of the things were just like, yes, exactly. I didn't hear many words that I didn't know or didn't seem like it was like, okay, I'm not familiar with that vernacular or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was very plain language. It was just, there was a little of an accent. So I don't think it was like,
you mean very plain like the Amish?
Yeah. Kind of reminded me of, So I don't know. It is of the time. So they did at the end of the movie, they did say, we tried to incorporate as much as we could at the time, incorporating fables and things like that of America at the time, when it was truly not a good place to live. Oh my God. I mean, it's success and failure and starving to death was very thin line in this life.
That is, that you're right. That is the measure of success. Being able to, well, I can, produce this for my livestock, or I can, or well, I have to kill the goat and eat it. And as you see, that probably would have been a case for the poor father in this movie, who comes at the wrong end of that goat. Here's a family that lives in the edge of a wood. And the daughter is running around with her infant brother and playing a game of peekaboo, and she closes her eyes and opens her eyes and the kid's gone and she hears a crackle in the distance. Not a good situation. That whole scene that followed, all ensconced in shadow, where you see a withering witch, essentially consuming the essence of this youngster in order to become young again.
And coating itself with blood. Yeah, this is definitely, there's a lot of inferred but also shown but in the shadows, so kind of a definitely a tone they set was this is a foreboding movie where people, essentially this family, are essentially outcasts from a society because they were so uber religious and cast off, and they essentially had nowhere to go and no one to depend on themselves. We're talking about like the oldest daughter, Thomason, was probably playing a 13-year-old daughter, and she essentially was going to be close to being married off. So then you've got a young son who's maybe 12 who essentially relied upon to keep the household going. And it was just like, wow, they were not set up for success to make this decision to move out just because they've got more fervent religious beliefs than the people in the community they came from. So it's really, and then just this really does bring in the, at the time, superstitions were a part of life at that point. When things got dark, you were scared of what was out there because you didn't have flashlights and other lights to actually bring those things to reality. So, wow. It really hit home that it's a scary thing to be in the woods where we may take it for granted today.
Right. Big time. Yeah. The woods.
Yeah. So Charlie, with what we saw, I don't know if there was flim flam in a lot of this or not, but there was a lot of a misdirection, I think, in what was going on in regards to there. When the child was lost, then we have these twins that, man, those two kids, Charlie, didn't you just want to slap them across the face and just
like the Three Stooges.
They were very good at being horrible children.
Right.
Oh my God.
She's trying to bewitch me. She's going to witch me. Blah, 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 blah.
And apparently they were talking to, Black Phillip, this goat who, and that's where I'm like, I don't truly know truly what was real and wasn't in this film. What were the kids truly?
What happened with the goat? Why did the goat kill the dad? Why did the goat do that? Was he possessed? Was he just being a goat? Or
this? Apparently, what we found out is when we've had the two siblings talking to Black Phillip, which I thought, okay, that's great. And I remember Thomason said something about specifically about a goat or a beast talking to children. So like, I think there's a play of like Satan conveying words through the goats and kind of causing a lot of the mischief. And that's what we kind of saw. So it was very odd.
It's your PSA, stay the hell away from goats. Because goats. This black goat is essentially, headbutts the father to death, smashes him into a wood pile, and kills him
with one of his horns. Yeah. And the mother, I mean, as you could see, like the loss of child affected the mother like you wouldn't believe. And then when she lost two children.
Right. And because the 12-year-old boy wanders into the woods and is then, as you said, seduced by the witch, who much like who was the witch in Game of Thrones who same thing, consumed blood and then became
Melisandre.
Yeah, it was like Melisandre. Just kissed the boy and then that just sucked the life right out of him. And then the mother cracks up and she's going to murder Thomason, and Thomason has to kill her mother in self-defense to escape. And that's the end of the rope for Thomason. Then she's just like, "Fuck it, I'm going off into the woods. And I'm joining the coven."
And the mother was touched. Obviously, she had she saw her dead children, and then when you see that she's actually cradling a raven who's pecking her is the best way to put it, which was horrific.
Right. And tearing at her flesh, and oh my God.
There was just a lot, and then when the children and the kids were basically trapped or boarded in the house or the goat pen overnight by the dad, and what happened after that, it was just a lot of like, we don't know. Was Thomason truly bewitched? Was she led to be bewitched? Because a lot of things happened around her, only when it was around her. So I'm like, this movie is good about not really being, I mean, we feel like she was victimized and pushed too far, but things that happened around her, I don't know if it was truly outside of, like, she wasn't being influenced and that's how it happened. I don't know. That's where it's a good film does. They don't really tell you all of the things, but at the end, it leads you to believe that, oh, okay, there was something else going on.
Yeah, wild stuff. So this was, last year, obviously, we talked about The Wicker Man, and that was pretty out there. But this was like watching it more than a few moments of April were just, and I were just jaws on the floor. Just really wild, crazy stuff. And at the end of it, there's no real, in a way, it's not a happy ending because, she's going to go off and join the coven and she's going to be a witch, and witches eat children, and that's not such a great thing. But she also was going to go off and be provided for, which the life that she would face with a dead family, what would she do then? She was already an outcast. She would have probably just died of starvation anyway, right? I mean, it's entirely possible.
Yeah. So I don't know if she could go back to where she was outcast from anyways. That was a part of the thing too, where they were going to This family just felt like, oh God, they're screwed because they can't go in. They have nothing. They've lost everything. Their only other goat is, milking blood. It's like, it's crazy. Right. But movie wasn't, to me, it wasn't really, it was more of a thriller than it was a horror film, because I never felt like, oh my God, there's a lot of jump scares. There wasn't a lot there that was like, oh my God, I have to stop watching. It was just the dread and the tone they felt that I think was really compelling. So I don't know, Charlie, anything else to add?
No, it was, like I said, it was a shocker. And at the end of it, and every part of it was horror and dismay. Nothing seemed to go right. And at the end of it, you don't really know, is this the best possible outcome for Thomason? Would it have been better if this didn't all happen? Because at the end of it, she was left completely alone. What ended up happening to the twins? Did they run off or did they die?
We don't know. like I said,
they were just gone.
They were boarded up in the house at night, and when she woke up, she was essentially left for, like, she was passed out. The house was destroyed, or the goat house was destroyed, and the kids were missing. So I don't know, but we did see someone in that goat house. Remember, with next to the goat, like feeding on the goat, maybe, and like she said, it was flying. So maybe that white witch took the kids and flew away.
I mean, essentially, those kids are gonna get ate one way or the other by the coven, and all the people that died, those children deserved it the most. Yeah. Oh, geez. Todd was like, "Whoa, man, am I rooting for those fucking kids to get killed?" Nothing
worse than annoying children, folks. Sorry. You know what?
They
made their bed, and now they must lie in it.
April and I had this conversation just today walking. He says, "God, it's really great not to have little kids around. It's pretty." You get to a certain age where you just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Well, I eventually do, because grandchildren, Charlie. That's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, but you know what? As my father was fond of saying, when my oldest son was born, and when he starts to cry, we just pass him off. I know.
Yeah. Children, other people's children are the worst. I do not care for other people's children.
We are taking a lot of brave stances in this episode. Which you know what? If you're pissed at us,
just remember, your kids
on Twitter.
You only love your kids the most.
Yes, exactly. Oh, geez, but yeah, Todd's really kicking some religion. All right, well, wrapping this up, Todd. Out of 1 out of 10 Black Thomasons, Black Phillips, what would you give this film?
I would probably give this 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
Black Goats.
I would concur. 7.5, 8, just because it delivers upon its boldness, and it gives you an ending that you're not sure you're happy about, and you're not sure you're sad about, but you're sure glad that those kids are obviously dead.
Yes. You know what? If that's my version of a happy ending, nothing is.
Oh my God, we're going to hell for this. Like I said, add us at Twitter, because at least we'll know that you're listening. Oh my goodness. Well, with that, we have drawn to the end of this program. Todd, where do people find you out on the intrawebs?
You can follow me at Todd Oxtra. We're having a good time talking about fantasy football and how bad it is. But other than that, just having a good time, reaching out to people, getting goofy, having a good time. And above all, please check out Secret Friends U and check out all of our wonderful things there, because that's where all the goodness happens.
You got do a little dance, make a little love, join the Witch Coven tonight. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3 Spell It Out. You can find me on socials all over pretty much at that handle. My lovely wife and April and I also run the USS Grand Petoskey. We're the premier chapter of the Starfleet International Star Trek Fan Club. You can find us at a website of that name, and also socials kind of across the board at that name. You can also catch most of your content on our Secret Friends Unite Facebook page, provided by me, where we try to bring you the hottest scoops without the shot of poop, if at all possible. So with that, friends, one more time, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Don't be bad.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com.